If you were to ask 100 business owners what he's struggling with, it's usually more sales.
There's a lot of people right now that are really fearful that AI is going to be taking over sales jobs.
The word close I don't like, but I'm always closing because I'm bringing a solution to their problem. So that's how I see the sales process.
But you said something to me that made my stomach kind of curl up a little bit, and that is that spirituality and capitalism belong together. Those thoughts, those feelings, that comes from something bigger than I am. And together I believe we can all grow. That's how we're going to change the world. That's how we're going to change the planet. So I'm joined today by Macievic, and I appreciate you joining us here on The Spiritual Capitalist. I've got a question for you. You have spent a lot of your life closing. That has been the thing that you've done over and over. What do you think separates a master closer versus someone that's just, they're okay?
That's a good question. And when I hear the word closer, it almost makes my skin crawl. Closer or sales. I just think it's just having a different conversation. So for example, if you approach people with the idea of nobody really cares what we're doing, it's all about them, right? They have their own story. They have their own feelings. They're going through something before they met you. If you can tap into that, then you can find out what it's going to take to close them, right? So the word close I don't like, but I'm always closing because I'm leading them to their problem. I'm bringing a solution to their problem. I'm bringing some relief to their pain. So that's how I see the sales process in that way. So
got it. Because if I look at your bio, you have got many sales underneath your belt. You've helped a lot of big companies to be able to create a lot more revenue for their company. What made you decide to do this?
So that is a great question. I came from a single mother household, and so I was always told no whenever I wanted something. But I loved clothing, and I was around all these people that had money, and they had things, and they were at the beach, and I wanted something new all the time. And I was so tired of hearing no, and I said, there's got to be a way where I can make money to buy these things so that I could live like everybody else. And I remember watching people drive Ferraris, and I'm like, I want to go figure out what that guy's doing because he doesn't seem that much different from someone who's not driving a Ferrari. And so I just kind of asked them a lot of questions about, like how they got to where they're at. And it always led to sales, revenue, making more money, making the right hires, right? And so I just figured that when I was like, I need to get into sales, even though, because I used to think sales was like a used car salesman and they were annoying. And so I realized by working at a company, doing a professional sales job as one of my first jobs out of college, that it was wonderful. I'm like, I get paid. I literally used to tell people I get paid to talk to people, ask them questions, and then give them a service that they're needing.
Right. It's interesting. You and I have the same history that way because when I was a kid, one of my best friends, his name was Colin, and his dad managed a ski resort, right? And I wasn't exactly the best student. Lots of creative energy going on and just doing my own thing, and you can probably relate. And I said, hey, like, who makes the most amount of money? Because his dad was also an accountant. And he says, I just want you to know that people that make the most amount of money is not business owners. It's not, it's not lawyers. It's not doctors. And I was like, well, who is it then? And he says, people that sell things. And I thought, well, that's a really interesting thing. And I used to think, like we were talking earlier, and you had said that you hate the word, like you don't really like the word sales. Why do you not like the word sales?
I don't like the word sales because everybody else doesn't like it. Nobody likes to be sold to. I don't even like to be sold to, right? So the person who's following us around with an agenda is the person selling something. So if you can create, now I love sales. So I pride myself in saying, I will help you fall in love with the sales process because it's not about the thing that they're selling. It's about the communication and the energy that you're bringing to a human that you meet. And if you can tap into this the right way, you can make unlimited amount of money. And I'm not only unlimited amount of money, a lot more money in way less time so that you can live your life doing all of the things that you've been wanting to do. So yeah, I don't like the word because everybody doesn't like to do the sales process. If you were to ask 100 business owners what he's struggling with, it's usually more sales. Well, why are they struggling? Because the people who are in sales don't like to do the sales call. They don't like the no. They don't like the hustle. Well, what if I could teach them that it's not a hustle? What if I can show them that they have it within them, no matter who they are? Even when they thought they weren't a salesperson. I love people that say, I don't like sales. I'm never a salesperson, because those are the people that do the best in sales.
Why is that?
Because they're coming from an authentic place. They're not coming from, I have a quota, I have an agenda. They're coming from just, I'm a customer service person. Wonderful. You're going to make a good salesperson because you care about fixing a problem. You care about listening, asking the questions. That's a better way to do sales than, that's why I don't like the micromanaging that a lot of people are doing with their salespeople. I don't like quotas, just like I don't like grades in school. The minute you have a grade in school, you think of yourself as a D student. Well, what if your testing was done based on the people that liked multiple choice, and someone like your mind is so powerful, it's like you get confused because all of them seem true. It doesn't mean they're more smart than you over a letter. So I don't like the letters, and I don't like the word sales because it limits people to saying I can't do something. And I believe anybody with a heart, the more you care about others, you'll do better at sales because you're making it about others and not yourself.
What do you think is one of the largest mistakes that people make in sales?
Ooh, one of the largest mistakes. I just think that it's really hard to put words on it, but that energy exchange of desperation, of pushing people, of interrupting people. You know, they do too much talking, not enough listening. So you have to think of yourself, you're Picasso, right? You're the artist, but you've got to let them speak before you know what to draw on them, right? And a lot of people just speak too quickly. They want to get out what they're wanting because it's like a dollar amount for them. I think that's the biggest mistake, and they're not even aware of this. And also having people in the wrong positions that are not trained. I think a lot of people nowadays are not getting trained correctly in the sales process and communication, which I call like communication and connection. I don't think of sales as sales. I think of it, you need to communicate and connect, right? And lead them to what they need. There's just not training in that. And so I created my program just to train them on the psychology of what they might be getting into. So that way they don't find themselves having to do 100 calls to get 2 deals. They can do 10 calls and get 2 deals.
Yeah, visionaries, they don't like, speaking of not listening, they want to create, they want to do the things. They're not really great at the sales process. They don't like sales for the most part. They just want to create, right? I'm going to create it, someone else go sell it, because that's not part of their makeup. So I know what you do a lot of times is you walk into these visionaries' offices, you walk into these entrepreneurs and these people are running these organizations, and they've kind of lost either the focus of sales or they don't even know how to do that. And so you wrap them back into that. But you said something to me that made my stomach kind of curl up a little bit. And that is that salespeople should not have quotas. You got to dive deeper there, because to me, I absolutely disagree.
Okay. Well, it's not, I just don't like the idea of they have to have goals, but we've got to make it their idea. It's kind of like parenting, right? So if I have a child that's doing something wrong and I go, I will spank you or put you in timeout if you do that one more time. Some personalities don't work that way, right? So that's why the first step I do in training salespeople is dive deep into their personality, their innate way of being, right? Because for certain personalities, it doesn't work to give them the quota and shove it down their throat over and over and do that micromanaging thing that some sales organizations do. But if they just flip it and do it a little different, you're still having a quota, but you're not calling it that. You're like, hey, I'm keeping you on track with the goals that you're the one that said you wanted because you gave me permission to keep you on track, right? So it's just flipping. They're going to have a quota, but we're going to call it something else. For example, they start and say, what are you wanting to make here? I want to make $10,000 a month. Okay, well, your salary makes you $6,000. You need to make $4,000 a month extra. What do you believe you're going to do every week to get there? And then it's like, are you okay with me holding you account, me calling and seeing where you're at to take any like road bumps out of your way that you might be experiencing? What day of the week do you like? And do you like to be texted or called? Or do you want to just wait till you come into my office next Tuesday? You gave all the power to them. So now they're going to come to you. They're not going to feel like they're stressed about the quota and not getting there because you're going to redirect when they come to you. They're already going to be disappointed. Well, I only made 2 this month. Well, what do you think you could have done to make the other 2? And usually they can answer their own question and they won't be off their quota for long. But if you do it with the punishment system, with the I'm mad at you, with that micromanaging feeling behind it, you're going to lose those people, because some really good people that can bring in lots of money don't like people to hold them accountable in the way of control.
Yeah, what you said, if I look at any salesperson that's a really good salesperson, they're typically a prima donna. They don't want to be held accountable, and they just want to do their own thing, right? Like, it's the whole deal. So what you just said, actually, I've noticed that you like to take words that people have a charge with, and you like to change those words. And really, I see the value in being able to say, hey, how do you actually want to hear this? How are you okay if I hold you accountable? I can tell you in any sales job I've ever had over the years, like when I was in my teens or whatever, that was never said to me, because it would have been my choice. And I have never actually said that to anybody that I've ever managed, like probably ever. So I just had this moment in time, I went, oh, wait a minute. I also want that agency and I want that freedom as well. So of course they would want that agency and freedom. So it's just tweaking just those little tiny things. And it's interesting, a lot of the times the real money is in the small tweaks, not this giant overlaying, process. So and so how do you think, with your background in doing, people don't know this, but with you having a background in, with relationships and marriage in the psychology side of things, how has that affected your ability to be able to sell and to be able to guide people? Because this sounds like a very much of a relationship kind of conversation you'd be having with a partner, like, a love language, right? Like, how do you want me to talk to you? Which is what you're referring to, I believe.
Oh, I believe it can change the world in every sector. In our relationships, our divorces will go down. People will sell easily, effortlessly. We're going to hit more goals because we're making it about who they innately are. How do they naturally behave, right? So if I were to test you and find out your love language, would I do that big sales trip if you don't care about going on a trip? No, because the sales trip work for people that are dying to go on a trip. So what if people don't really care about money? How are you going to motivate them by telling them, hey, I'm going to give you 10% more if you can close one more deal? They don't care about that. So it's very important to understand what people care about. It's how we shouldn't get in a relationship or get into business. And it's my personal opinion, which is why I created Out of the Box Consulting, my company, is until we know who we're working with and we have the right person in the right department and the right position for what they innately love to do. And then we train them with our guidance on what we expect, but it's really they're in the right position. I just think we'll all hit goals quicker. So to answer your question, that's the biggest reason I left regular sales environments with Fortune 500 companies. It's because they lacked training, they lacked empathy and understanding where I'm at. And I just felt like I could do it better by doing it on my own. And so I'm trying to bring this idea to different people and helping them create a sales process that's not hard, because that's the only thing that's going to build your business. Hiring good people, motivating good people without the scared tactic, because certain personalities work that way and certain do not. So if you can understand what personality I have, and I were to give you a sheet of paper, hey, by the way, I'm starting with you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Here's what motivates me. Here's what turns me off. Here's how I like to work. Here's the incentive I would love to have that would push me, and then leave me alone. And I were to tell you that, and you did it that way, I would hit the goals because you left it up to me.
That very much aligns with, because I keep asking this question, is like, what is spiritual capitalism? And a lot of this is how do we also work with our shareholders, meaning our staff, our customers, and so on, and it's really meeting them where they're at. But most of us aren't really sure, at least I haven't been until you just had this conversation, like how to meet them where they're at, instead of me wanting to have them meet me where I'm at. You know what I mean? I've often been told I'm a very aggressive person. I'm like, hey, we're going to get these numbers. We're moving forward. Like, we're moving through the mountains. Like, it's very much of a conquer type thing versus a, like co-creating. Well, I really, truly want to create or co-create. And I think most people do in general, right? Whether they're the people owning the company or they're the individuals that are supporting that company. I think they want to co-create together, but it's that lack of communication that often gets in the way. But you did say that there are salespeople, which, again, I had that turning in my stomach, and that is that don't want to make money. Like, they're not driven by making more money. Like, I would think the only reason someone is in sales, because you hear no all the time. It is a thankless job. It is 0 to 0 every single week. It is finding new clients. I mean, there is a constant pursuit all the time, closing new clients and serving new people. who doesn't, what salespeople have you ever worked with before? What have they been driven by besides the desire to make more money?
Well, what if they're making like $5,000 a month? Not all of them want to make 12.
Right.
There's people that want to make 12 from the get-go. Like, oh, 5's nothing. There's people that start at 2 and they're good at 5. Like, I'm giving like all that I can, but I don't want to stress anymore. I can cover my bills. I have a little bit in savings. I'm good. And there's people's like, forget that. I'm going to Cabo every month. I want to take this to a whole new level. But you're not going to know that because in the interview process, they're just showing up and telling you what you want to hear.
Right.
So without testing them and knowing what really motivates them, okay.
You're used to running no different than business is used to running from a capitalistic perspective, right? And you are trying to change the narrative of business when it comes to sales. How has that been received?
Well, when I am aligned with people that think like myself, they think it's brilliant. Other people are stuck in their ways. It's like anybody that we meet, right? Some people are open to change and some people are not. And I know with certain personalities to not address, I have a better way, right? So like if I was working with yourself, I heard a few things that you're a go-getter, charge, alpha type. I call it alpha. It's the word that pops in my head. Just you're a leader. You know what you're doing. Like don't get in my way. So the energy I would give to you is what's something you don't like to do that you feel is not working in sales? Well, I'll just create around that. Like I would never to someone like you tell you my ways. I have a better way. So it's been slower because I take my own advice for when I'm working with my clients, right?
Yeah.
But what I want to say is like, but I don't care about everyone. Right? I only care about the people that care.
Right.
I want to work with people who actually care. It's like this is broken. Like I keep hiring the bad people or my marriages keep failing. I don't know what's going on, but they're ready. I like working with people when they're ready to talk about something new. They're open to a new idea, right? So that's why I'm around the movers and shakers, entrepreneurs, and big minds, because big minds are open to different things. They're like, heck, let's try it. Why not? So
who do you find, because in my experience of working with sales, right, hiring on salespeople, the characteristics I look for are people that are highly driven, really motivated, probably have played sports or done something competitive in their life on some level, can communicate well, has got a good personality, and is like pretty much relentless. Like they're relentless in the pursuit of their goal, right? Because it's just another thing. That is what I find, obviously with a good personality and, you know, likable and somewhat the same type of values. But what is it that you look for when you look for the right person to hire on for a company?
So what's funny is you just mentioned pretty much yourself.
Yeah.
Do you notice that? Because you're comfortable with that.
Yep.
You're like, I know what I've done. I know that that's what it takes. And then I come from, well, I have an empath heart and I don't like to charge and I feel uncomfortable pushing people. But deep down, I do have high goals for money. I don't show it. I don't really come across that way, right? I come across like a healer helper because that's my innate personality. So to answer your question is the person who can give the person in the seat what they need. I know when to be. You want to be with a winning company, Dalton. I know your personality. You got it with our company. I'm going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I know that you're going to want to hear from me that way. Now, another person I'm selling to has a different personality. They're all numbers. They're more quiet. They're not the charger. They're the numbers guy, but they're just checking me out. They don't like the touchy-feely. Then I know to pull back on that and give them what they need. This is why personality science is my first step. I do it with everybody, with the clients and with people alike. Even if I date someone, I want to know their personality and their love language because I already know that if I know that, I'm going to show up the best possible way. So remember, it's all about others. Because if it's not about others, it's about you. You're going to be working twice as hard to find the right people. And some of the people you're going to hire that are like yourselves and ourselves, they're not going to really they're not going to connect with the different personalities as well. So to answer your question, if I were to hire sales, I'd hire 2 or 3 different types of salespeople. All of them need to want to make money, of course, but they can have a softer approach. One could have a more aggressive approach. And then when we can't close someone, we put them back in the database and have the other person take a shot at it because sometimes it's a difference in personality that gets them to say yes. So by me teaching the owners how to test people and work with them based on their personalities, now there's no lost revenue or little to no lost revenue versus a big hole of lost revenue because you're doing things just one way.
Right. And I think that my belief system behind these things has been movies I've seen, right? We could go back to something like The Wolf of Wall Street. Like that movie is very much alpha driven, high intensity, high testosterone, like really charged. I look at most of the sales positions I've ever been in when I was younger. That is the only people that were around me. It wasn't that I picked them. It is that the companies picked those people because that is where they believe the results were coming from the most, with that competitive energy. I know a lot of people don't have. There's a lot of people that will talk about how competitive they are. There's other people that will actually just be competitive inside, right? I'm not going to talk about it. That's me. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to go do it because I'm going to spend way more time telling you about something. I'm just going to go do the thing, and then I'll give you my results. So I find that to be really interesting as you're starting to talk about, okay, having these different personalities around me because of the personality typing or testing that you do to be able to find out who's going to be that right person for the organization. And more importantly, who is going to be somebody that you're able to come back and resell somebody that hasn't been sold. I think that's a brilliant way of looking at it so that those leads aren't getting burnt out as fast. So,
well, I've created some of my programs are things that people aren't doing. It's called, I have a dead lead pile mastery. It's like talking to the dead leads. It's like money that's never going to turn into money for a company.
Made a lot of money through those dead leads.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my point. It's like find things that people aren't doing. You can create businesses around anything, right? But at the end of the day, like people love to buy. Nobody likes to be sold to. If you think about it, people have said that so many times. I love to buy, I don't like to be sold to. But when you go to Target and you go for one thing, you're buying 20 things. Why is that? Because it's our choice to pick it up, put it in the cart.
Right.
We're doing it on our terms. Okay. So when you work at a company, it's always on their terms so they can burn out salespeople, right? Because we didn't ask them. The incentive trips weren't there, or the camaraderie or the energy or the congratulations, like that, filling the cup of the empaths. If it's all charged with money, 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 go, 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 the empaths get worn out. People that actually want you to just care about them. They want you to ask them how their babies are doing at home. They want you to care about them. If you care about them, that's going to go a long way. You'll see their revenue come up because they're getting charged on a different level. It's a different personality type.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I'm different from you, but I was always top 5% in sales. In fact, one year I was the #1 rep, and we were going to go on this trip, and I was going to have to speak because I did so well. I didn't even know where I was in the rankings the whole 6 months because I'm not a numbers person. I don't look at reports, and I don't care to be #1, but I always do well. Why? Because I need to go on the incentive trip every year because there's cool stuff goes on. I want to be the girl left behind. I come from the blue side. I love to have fun, and I want to be included. So it's like I'm motivated by that. And all the cute guys were on the trip. All the good sales reps are going to be there. I got to go to that trip because I'm single. I want to show up where the cute guys are. And I just didn't want to let people down. My #1 motivator is my boss hired me. He's paying me $125,000 a year. I cannot let him down. But it's not because I was charged to win. It's not because I wanted to make so much money. I was like, I'm making fine money. It was because I didn't want to let them down. And someone had to tell me, hey, you're climbing the ranks, the reds, like yourself. You're more red charged in my color code profiles. They would always tell me, you're like 2.2 away from being #1. You got 2 more deals to do and then you'll beat me. They were always like competing with me. And I'm like, I don't even know what those reports say. I'm just connecting with people, doing my thing.
Right.
See?
I think that even your high chargers, right? You definitely want to know them. You want to know what's going on with them. You want to know their personal life. You want to understand them from I think if you're managing salespeople or they're in your organization, because nobody wants to just be a number. Nobody wants to just charge just to make money. There are very few people I've ever met that's like, shut up. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. I'm just here to make money. And that's all I want to do, and then leave. I've met very few people. Most people are looking for teams, or looking for, like basically that kind of that energy level that comes from working with a good group of people. You want to know about them. They want to know about you. So you're creating these friendships. And through those friendships, you're building this team, no different than would be a football team, basketball team, or something like that. But you're playing the same game. And hopefully, what is it? I think it's iron, sharpens iron in that capacity. So that's interesting. So with you've obviously had a very interesting life. You've taken your skill sets from being understanding the components of humans from a personality level to understanding from a psychological perspective and so on. But you also have, right now with you, being a single mom and doing those things, how have you been able to balance all this? That's a lot.
I think that goes, I'm glad you asked me that because that's my ultimate why. It's like, if I can make the most amount of money in the least amount of time, I can be there for loved ones. I can take my kid to go see, the waterfall they want to see in another state because it's going to be airline tickets and time away from work and hotels. So I was attracted to sales because if I do well, people leave me alone. Right? So then I can do what I want to do, which is all heart-centered stuff. I want to go be with my friends. I want to go be with my kids. I want to make people smile. I don't want to have quotas and all the stress. So I went into sales just caring about being with loved ones more, going on longer trips, saying, yeah, I could stay an extra Friday because guess what? My boss back at home is happy with me. And I can sell from wherever because and now we have so much technology. We can do Zoom calls. There's so many ways to make money doing what we love. So I think we've been in the best time we've ever been. And hearing about, AI is going to take over, but you never take over people entirely. And the right person can bring in so much more business than 10 of the wrong people, right? Because you're spending so much time training them, trying to explain things to them and they don't have it, right? So don't you want to hire someone that has it? They have that feeling that even if you disappear and don't give me any quotas, I'm going to show up and do whatever needs to be done to get here. So that's kind of if you align yourself with the right people, you're going to have an easier time. You're going to make more money in less time. You're going to be doing the things you love. On people's deathbeds, what do people say they wish they had more of? More travel, more time with their loved ones, right? So all this rat race, trying to be number one, driving the nice cars, none of it matters. And we're already halfway done with our entire lives. If we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, guess what? We only have a little bit left.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll live to be 120, 130, 140 with technology. I really...
If we can act like we're 30 at 120, I'm all in.
I believe that we're going to get there as long as we have our bone density and we have our muscle.
Exactly.
And our minds and everything's working well. I tell people all the time, we live to be 140, 200 just because of, I believe, the technology that is now available and the research that's available and using machine learning. And going back to machine learning and AI, you were talking about sales, right? There's a lot of people right now that are really fearful that AI is going to be taking over sales jobs. You can see it with a lot of call floors. Right now, I've talked to quite a few people about how now there's technology. So check this out. There's technology within 4 seconds. By the time something comes out of my mouth, it can translate it into 120 different languages.
Wow.
Which is fascinating. It uses the area codes to be able to determine what kind of dialect it should have inside of that language. And somebody can be sitting in India and speaking in their dialect. And now it is then translating in someone in New York City or in London or in Dubai or wherever it's at. So I think the technology is really changing the game when it comes to sales. Do you think salespeople should be fearful that AI is going to take their jobs?
Absolutely not. Because
Why?
I believe in, one thing I'm huge on, if you were to say, what's 5 things Michelle loves to talk about? One of them is it's either love or fear, and I don't do fear-based anything. So for example, if someone's going to take over my position, there's some other skill set I have within me that I could assist in anything. And I don't believe in labels as much as I believe in positions at companies. It's what can I bring and what can I do? So, and my mom taught me this when I was little. Life is like a river. It's constantly changing. So I'm very open to change. I'm open to new technologies. I'm open to whatever's going to be. People are like, are you scared it's the end of the world? No, that's fear-based. I'm open to whatever's going to happen. And my innate faith, you can call it belief, you can call it positivity. I know that I'm going to be led to wherever else I'm needed for whatever it is. I don't need to be called the director of sales because I used to write content for people and now there's robots that do it better. And I used to go into their LinkedIn and respond to people a certain way so that way we set up the sale. Well, now robots can do it. If I sat there and said, well, I'm not going to have a business, then that's going to fear. So I always tell people, check your thoughts, because I guarantee the people who are divorced, the people that they give up, it's because they let the fear thought get in the way of the abundant, loving thought. So that's why this energy thing and testing people and doing what people are comfortable with, even at their jobs. Think about a job. You're showing up to help someone's bottom line, and it's your family. Think about what it really is. You're going somewhere so many hours a day. So for people to not care about people's feelings and to not put people in the right position, you're going to have to go home to your little babies. I want you to be able to go. So let's make sure that your phones are taken care of. Instead, they micromanage and they get mad at them. They're doing the opposite effect. And that's why people leave jobs. That's why people leave marriages, right? Because they went to the fear-based thought. If you stick with the abundant thought, what's the silver lining in this horrible situation? But without bad, there's no good.
Right.
So we wouldn't even experience any good if there's no bad. So stop looking at these bad fear, going into the fear, I call it like the darkness, and what can you learn and come to the light? Yes. Maybe I could teach the robots what to do better. Maybe one day I'm doing personality science the robots. I don't know.
I love that. It is interesting because consciousness is changing so fast that way. When you said, hey, maybe I'd be teaching the robots. As you were saying that, my thoughts were, yes, there's a lot of technology out there. And yes, there's a lot of automation, really is what we're speaking of. There's a lot of automation, but because you have years and years of experience behind that automation, right? You have years and years of experience of understanding how to do that. You can look at these, we'll call them like boilerplate answers. They're really like, they don't have a lot of soul to them, and help create the soul to that helps, get more leads and so on. So you have a process that you call, I believe it's 7 streams or 7 dreams. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Tell me about this, because this is something you've coined. This is something you talk about. None of our listeners know what this is. So I think this is something that we're able to talk about and dive into.
7 streams, 7 dreams. So my whole point is that I decided long ago that I'm not going to let the word work and a job be anything negative. That's why I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm a forward thinker. And if we can do everything that aligns with our passion, we can create businesses in all of these passions. I truly believe that. I don't believe it's like, I don't have 40 hours a week to make money doing this. Because think about this. This is like where this comes from. When we network, we're constantly, if I needed to give you someone that you needed to meet, I'm going to ask someone a question, right? So if I ask someone a question, it's probably I'm going to ask them a lot of questions. So if you're doing a different, and there's another way where you make money and you ask a question like, what are you doing to travel? Would it be beneficial to have your own travel website? And I bring up mine and send it to you. I make money in the travel arena. Nobody even knows that, right? That's because it's one of my passions. So all I did is I aligned my passions, created businesses under my umbrella of my Diva Enterprises. And that's how I'm Sales Diva Michelle. And I was on a TV show called Dining Divas, Travel Divas. That's like my brand, but I found ways to make money in all my passions. So first of all, it came from wanting the write-offs because the tax season came and I'm like, I created all this. I charge yearly and I have to give it to everyone else for things I don't even agree with. But like, I was like, you play the game the right way. It's like, I put money into the system and they're giving my money to who knows things that I'm not on board with. So I'm going to start a business in all of my passions so that way I can have write-offs in all these areas. And now I'm doing everything I love. So for example, in my home, there's a fashion store. It's called Designer Diva. And I thought everyone loves Michelle for what I wear and I can help people look pretty by like giving them ideas. Oh, your body type would do well with this. So when I came from California to Utah, I brought all these beautiful pieces and I had these girl parties and I'm like, look through the magazine. And if you want to look like Madonna, guess what? Come in my store and let's pick this at a fraction of the cost. So Designer Diva was born by bringing like Gucci, Chanel, BCBG, all these brand names from California to Utah. And then what I found was I thought it could be this big money maker, but oh my goodness, retail's like a disaster, right? It's like, I don't want to hang 20 outfits and these women are fickle and I don't have their size. But at the time, I even got an audit in that arena. But for me, I would do that all day with my friends because I love it. Like even if I made no money, I would love to dress up my friends and have them feel beautiful, right? So I created a business in that arena. And then it was the travel. There's like this network marketing company called World Ventures. You should be here. And I'm like, wait, they're traveling at cost? Yeah, if you got like 5 people to have memberships or 10, you have this bank of money and now you travel for free. I'm like, I'm in. Even though I didn't do network marketing, I did it enough to get the free trips. So then I started rising the ranks in a network marketing company for travel. And I've had this membership for 14 years. But it's why if people follow my Instagram, like, you're always somewhere. You get to travel every month. But little do they know, not only am I getting paid, I'm getting the write-offs, but I'm also able to share what I'm going through with someone like yourself. So to me, it's not sales and it's not working. I don't call myself, I'm a network marketer. I'm going to pound the phone and turn people off. No, I'm just taking pictures on a boat. And they're like, how'd you get there? Oh, my vacation club helped. I paid $115 for this room. You paid $240. What? Tell me more. Here's a link. And I move on. So I call it business, but that's like another stream of income, right? I either call it a stream of income or it takes care of my costs in travel, right?
Right.
So then I have 7 of them and they all align with my passions. And so when I tell people what I do, I go, I really get paid to be with friends, to ask questions and fix problems, to connect them and put my kids first as a single mom. Because honestly, my heart is 100% my family, my people, giving back to the universe, all my nonprofit work. I wish I could make money doing that.
Yeah, when we talked to you, I said, what is the one thing you would do if you could only do one thing? And you're like, I'd give away my skills and I would help as many people as I could. And one of the things that I really admire about you is that giver's heart, right? So when you say diva, I'm like, diva, that's not who you remind me of. You don't remind me of any kind of diva. You remind me of someone that is just truly heart-centered and wants to give and wants to help and do those things. And we were speaking about this, and we didn't really dive into much about this, but you, at one point in time, you were telling me you want to start helping people that are in prison. And you're really passionate about this area of helping people with prison. Tell me a little more about that.
Oh, and it's so crazy you're bringing that up because I was just asked to be a coach in a prison program, and it's at the end of March. So I'm actually going to do it. It's weird because I manifest. I'm like, if they wouldn't be going out of jail and selling the drugs again because they need to learn to get to 5,000 right away. And I get it. It's expensive to live, right? And they don't have the skill set and the support, and they haven't been to the motivational trainings you and I have been through. They don't know what they don't know. They probably lacked a lot of love growing up. Love and fear is like the number 2 things. If they lacked love and then they need money quick, they're going to go back to what they're comfortable with their bad group or bad influence circles.
Not to mention they've already got felonies and all this stuff. No one's going to hire them. So
exactly. So teach them to be entrepreneurs, right? Teach them and even if they get in trouble, teach them to fend for themselves. Like I have an idea instead of prison. If we had all these islands with sharks around it, whatever, it's like, here is this. You can have your own food. You can create your own homes. Here's a saw. Here's this. I'm giving you all the tools. If you guys kill each other off, that's on you. But teach them to do something that's good for themselves. So I had this idea. It's like, if I can get the prisoners right out of prison to go into one of my business courses, it's how I help with the homeless, right? I didn't believe in enabling. I don't believe in enabling. I don't believe in just giving clothes and money because they're just going to spend it on food, drugs, and go back to the same circle. You've got to teach them to think big. Some of these people are probably entrepreneurial spirits, but they don't even know what to do. They don't know where to go. So they're the big drug lords. They're like, hey, I got this, right? But what if we teach them, what if we can hone down that thought process and do something good? Like, what are you good at? So when I was flipping homes and I was getting 5 homes a week and I didn't know anything about real estate, they were asking me like, how did you get that house? I can't believe you got him to sign that. And I was like, yeah, but he's losing a house. He only had $40,000 to pay. Nobody really asked what he's going to do. No one cared about his life. You guys just care about the money. And like, Michelle got another house. What about this person's life? So I dug deep and said, what are you good at doing? This is where these ideas came from. And he's like, I can clean a garage. I'm really good at organizing. I go, great. You can have a garage cleaning business tomorrow. Let's go to Vistaprint. I'd go to Vistaprint, get a business card. It was shipped the next day for like $29. And then I said, I'll give you your first garage to clean. If you do a good job, I will rate you. I'll see how long it took. And then I'll help you with the sales program to get different people's garages. And now you have a business. That's how easy it is. How many
people have you done that for? Like that are actually like they came from a rough position, whether it is being homeless. I cannot tell you how much I love this. That's homeless or that have been in prison or people that are losing their home, that they were able to start a business and be able to support themselves and their families.
I do it every chance I get. That's why I'm in the nonprofit for single moms and nonprofit for homeless. And I love this prison idea. I feel like I have a voice and I have a way about how I do things to work with all these people and help them think differently. But to reach the masses, it's been hard. So how many has it helped? So here's the problem with what they're accustomed to doing that I can't really, the 2 areas that I've struggled with is getting people off drugs. Okay. So with the homelessness, the reason I got so frustrated is because we had a homeless program where we would do, besides just giving them clothes and food, I did these business courses for 3 hours once a week. So I gave my time to helping them. So we had the space. They were falling asleep. They're on drugs. They're not listening. Their attention's not there. But I went to the point of, I have clothes for you, Because remember, I have that clothing store. I'll give you clothes. I'll make you dress to the nines. I'll help you with your self-worth. We'll do a powwow session. I'll even get you the jobs because I'm networked with companies. So I got all these companies on board. My commercial realtors were open to giving us space so they can detox and get off their drugs because they had these big warehouses that were empty. Because I told them one of the big concerns of the homeless people is that when they try to get off drugs, people steal their stuff. Okay. So then we need an area for them to come off drugs. That was one thing all the years of working, this is what I came up with. We need that. And we need a way to have a job lined up for them and a way for them to get there. So now we had to fix the DMV problem. A lot of them didn't have IDs and all that. So we had to go through that. But this organization, the girl that was running it, she was this Russian girl and she had a big heart, kind of like your girlfriend, like that kind of like loving heart. She was doing lives and going into the tents of the homeless people downtown and giving them love, hugging them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can align with her. And that's why I started working with this organization. But she's like, I know it's COVID, but who cares? They need love. They need someone to just hear their story. And I'm like, oh, I love that. Instead of just bring them clothes. And the homeless, they have so much clothes and they have so much food. Here's the problem. The clothes get bulldozed down. The cops keep moving them here, moving them there. They can't go outside of Salt Lake because that's where that's where the food banks are. That's where they get food. So there's a huge problem there. But when I was teaching them to the point where they could learn to start a business after I was done. I would give them the clothes and I would give them their first opportunity for a job. So you asked that question, how long? Very little of them kept it up. And I think it's because they don't have the mindset. So we have to focus more on the mindset, and getting people off drugs is just, I don't even know how to do that. Or mental illness is a big, huge.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. We've lost a lot of our, because I was asking, because I'm like, man, this is something I've been so passionate about for many years. It's how do we take these people that are disenfranchised? They've come from bad homes, or even if they come from good homes, they've chosen drugs because of a lot of times it's mental issues, it's emotional issues, it's a lot of that stuff. Like, how do we solve those things? So I was hoping you were going to say, I have the answer.
Well, there's a few of them though that with this, they just needed resources, they needed someone that's their cheerleader. They need someone to help, and I could help with like I'd say probably about 8%. It definitely will help them. But I started feeling frustrated because some of the people believe that you give them more drugs that are just less harsh and more of the enabling side.
Sure.
And I'm all about, no, nobody did anything for me. And look where I'm at. Like I was offered drugs for free in Hollywood, like at really amazing parties. And I said no. I didn't say no because I was going to get in trouble. I didn't say no because it's my religion. I didn't say no for any other reason other than it was my own choice.
And I think also, Yes, I agree with you, and I also disagree. And the reason I disagree is because of this, is because you have the mindset, you have the mental fortitude, you have gone through those things, and you're not probably facing a lot of the same mental challenges that I see a lot of these addicts are facing on the streets. Like they're facing like schizophrenia and these things that they're always trying to self-medicate themselves, and I don't think they've ever been able to deal with that trauma. And for you were able to go to school and you were able to see these things and you were able to learn about all this stuff. And I'm not saying that we should enable people, but just like you were talking about sales, we need to meet them where they're at.
100%.
And that's, and none of us really know how to meet them where they're at because it's a broken system.
What I mean by enable is a lot of people say, I love to do things for homeless, and they like to just feel like they did something.
Just give them something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So enabling to me, I should reiterate that because it's not just the word of course, I 100% agree with you. We've got to meet them where they're at and see where they're at. But what I'm telling you is I could have taken those choices that they took, because not all of them are schizophrenic.
Of course.
They just got lazy, or
you and I could have both taken. I mean, hell, I took a lot of those same choices.
We could have been like,
I did plenty of drugs when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I did all kinds of crazy shit. And then I realized, you know what? This is not who I want to be.
Okay, wait, hold on. You just said it. I realized.
Yeah, it was me.
It wasn't mom getting mad at you and this and that. So there you go. I'm there for the ones who are ready and they need the skill set and the know-how, and the person is going to hold their hand, bring them from A to B. Those people I can help all day long because I do all the things they're not doing. It's kind of like what I do with businesses. But are they there? Do they believe that this is better? So here's what I'm going to tell you. Some of these homeless said this, and their words exactly. It's cheaper. It's less money to take a hit of something that makes me feel warmer. I don't need as much food. I don't need as much money. And then the days go quicker. So that's where they're at.
Yeah. It's just existing. They're not thriving, they're existing. And so maybe one day you can come up with a personality test that shows you, like, out of these people that are homeless, out of these people that are, being, convicts and so forth that are coming out of the system, that maybe there's some kind of color system that can be created to where you can say, okay, these people we know are ready to learn. Because if not, you're just wasting time, energy, and resources. We've done lots of projects over the years, put a lot of money into things, and it does this amount of good. The only good it does, it makes me feel good, makes the other people around me feel good, makes us feel like we've done something. But our impact, when we look at the measurable impact, it's very little to anything. And it's a better way to take that money and go put it into Vegas than it's anything else.
100%. And my daughter was in the car with me. I was in my van. I had this little junker van that I'd take all the donations downtown in. This homeless came to my mirror. It just reminds me of this. He goes, I'm hungry. I want something from that restaurant. And I go, okay, I'm going to go get you something. Right. So I go through the drive-thru, come back. I give him, I don't really want that. I wanted something else. And he goes, I want that. And then he starts talking about, and then I'm like, do you need shoes? I can't work because I don't even have rubber shoes. So I took off my shoes. I don't like Nikes. Okay. My daughter got to see that. She goes, Mom, I was so scared. Why did you open the car to that guy? Because she was terrified that I was talking to him. I go, honey, he's just a human being. He's not going to hurt us. A lot of these homeless are not scary. They're just a little bit different. Yeah. But it doesn't mean they're going to hurt us. Yeah. But all they need is someone that believes in them and doesn't act scared of them, right? Yep. But I noticed early on, it was all the things he's not getting. Wasn't as grateful, And I was like, there's something to that, because we're giving stuff. All kinds of people give. Churches, everybody's giving. But it's not what that person's needing. It's the same way I approach businesses, right? It's like there's more to what they're needing to actually switch this problem off. So, and there's a lot of our skill sets needed to help tackle this.
Yeah, you said something about gratitude, and that is, I believe that gratitude determines your latitude. I was talking to my partner recently, and she was telling me that gratitude is actually one of the keys that bring us higher into our evolution or our awareness in our own spirituality. So it would make sense to me that someone is in those positions. They're not focused on a place of gratitude. They're focused on a place of lack or fear or not having. And it is fascinating to me is that the more that an individual focuses on those things, the more they get of those things.
And I love that you brought that up, because I learned that early on. And when I had children, I didn't have grandmas, grandpas, or anyone really I didn't have that tribe of people helping me raise my kids. I felt like I was alone with these two babies I was blessed with. But I did positive words of affirmation way before she could speak. Both my kids, I have little videos on it. In fact, I shared one today. But every day we're in the car going to Challenger, I'd say, I am worth it. I can do anything I put my mind to. I am smart. I am kind. I am loving every day. And I have her little voice, and I recorded her. And it's a great reminder. This little girl, she's 11 now. She just won the spelling bee. She gets 100 points on all her tests. I want to jump out of a plane because I believe I can. I mean, this girl's the biggest overachiever. But this is what I'm going to say, a but and an and, is that she has that spirit of a winner. I did the right thing. So it's not just us parents doing the right thing. It's they come into this world with a certain soul, okay? That soul is the only thing we can't really change, okay? Then we can lead them, we can notice the soul and lead them the right way, or we can not notice the soul and we're leading them here, punishing with kids, that punishments will never work. So it's very important for parents. There's the love language for kids, and learn that early on and give them and parent them accordingly. It's the same way I think about business. It's the same way I think about parenting. Because what Sasha needed, she's an overachiever, pushes herself. I knew that early on. So I did the positive words for her. Aiden, nope, not doing that. I don't want to sing that song. He's opposite, my other son. With him, his love language is gifts. I'd have to bribe and give gifts, and he would do the right thing. Sasha could care less about gifts. But we need to understand their souls, and then we can only parent so much. My biggest pet peeve is when I'm in a parent group and I hear, she must be a bad mom, her kid's horrible. It bothers me so much, because there's nobody that cares about someone being respectful and loving and showing up the right way as me, because I'll go at every little thing that's disrespectful. And I still might have a kid that goes against the grain and does things over and over the wrong way. So that's the part it's a common denominator with the homelessness, parenting, business, is certain souls are very hard to lead. And if we don't have the expertise on leading difficult souls and difficult people, we're not going to really thrive as quick as we could if we don't learn these skills.
What have you learned from those difficult souls? Like, what has been the biggest lessons you've learned about being a mom?
That there's not these books like Love and Logic that work. They don't work for everybody.
No, they don't.
And it's someone's opinion. An author is someone's opinion of a subject. It doesn't mean that it's Bible. It doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it works for everybody. We have to be very aware of who we're marrying, who we're giving birth to, how their souls come. And then we have to play the part of not disrupting what already is. Okay. So I brought my son, for example, to timeout one time. 42 times he got up. He went to a private school and the teacher's like, how do I get him to stay and do? He got up with them. The police came later on in life and asked, same personality. Sometimes we have to change our approach, because if we're aware and we're able to change and that soul is stuck, we have to change how we respond to the soul and to the person. Okay. So that's my greatest why behind it all is if we can learn to do that, we're not going a lot less suicides, a lot less kids that are left without that support and guidance they need, because we're tapping into their needs. And then we bring that environment around them because they're younger than us. It's our job to make sure they're in safe environments. That means you stand up for your kids at school. You're their advocate. Even when they're wrong, they still need an advocate. They need your love. And that's why fear is what you're in trouble. You didn't get A's. What are my family going to think? You're not going on a mission. All these fear-based things of if you don't do this, you're not going to be that. And I'm like, all that stuff's not working. Just give love and find a different way. Redirect. It's like, oh, you're burning your hand? Honey, that's hot. They might burn their hand 10 times. The other kid, one time, they'll never go by the fire again. That's not on the parent. It's on that soul.
Right. If I was to, and I hope the listeners hear this the most, and that is, if I look at you and I'm listening to these conversations, what I'm hearing the most is that, first and foremost, that we need to not lead with fear. We lead with love, and we meet people exactly where they're at. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. And that is something you excel at. So if organizations, companies, it's not about sales, it's about being able to meet your people where they're at, because most of the time in sales, people want to exceed. They want to grow. They want to make you happy. They want to make themselves happy. They want to, do something, but they simply don't know either themselves, or they don't have the right motivation or the understanding, and the people leading them don't. And so it's meeting them where they're at, and you give them the tools to do that.
Yes.
So I think it's amazing. So when all's said and done, like you're done with this earth, you're done with this experience, and your head hits the casket and you're put into the ground, what do you want to be remembered for?
Just that I made enough people really truly seen for who they really are, without wearing all the masks, without having to show up and be the perfect child and the perfect CEO and, live the perfect life and post that perfect picture. Like, did they finally for once feel so comfortable in my presence that they could actually do one little step towards their dreams, their dream life? Like, really, that motivates me so much, because I like drive by a homeless, and I would be like, why is everyone judging they're on drugs? Of course they are, and it doesn't matter. It matters that they're freezing and sitting on that bench. That's a human being with a beating heart. When did we become so cold? That's those people. That's this person's problem. You didn't do good in sales. You were this much short. I think you're on the chopping block. When did we forget that we're humans first? And we have a lot going on. If you knew my personal life, I don't go into my stories, because I don't believe in giving you a sob story to have you want to help me later. But I have a very harder, people would probably say, that is so sad. You came from that background. You're still happy, because I was never a victim to anything that happened to me or the broken humans who were in my life. It's not their fault they were broken. It's not their fault that they didn't know how much that could make someone like me broken. And my soul came here knowing that when people were mean to me and I didn't have the things that all my friends had when they had a great family life, I remember thinking, and I always thought like from victorious instead of a victor. Like I don't have to be that person that just because my dad wasn't there, I'm going to have daddy issues. In psychology, we call that, this is why I didn't like the therapy programs, because they want to keep you broken. They want to cover a couple things and keep you broken and charge you again. Come back. You're still broken. Everybody's broken. Stop telling everybody we're all broken, because I don't go into the past, because why would you take someone to all their fear-based stuff over and over and over? Give them the tools of the little bridge of what they're not doing to make them happy. Just focus on that part, right? I'm not going to talk about what my dad didn't do, what my mom didn't do. It never came over into my dating world because I wasn't a victim to it. If my dad didn't want a relationship with me, that doesn't mean I'm not going to attract a man that would want a relationship with my daughter. And the system's broken because they're telling people, oh, because you've had all this, you're broken, so you're not going to get all this. I think we need to watch what we say, and we need to stop going into fear-based ideas, because there's always a positive to every negative.
Yes.
You know?
And I think we all have to go into the shadows, in the darkest of darkest places, to find those places that are unhealed, that are often in our past. They're often places we don't want to look at. They're often ugly, to be able to heal from those spaces. Because it's almost like there's a child that is sitting there crying in the dark and just wants to be loved or understand what happened, or to be able to have an awareness on what's going on. And when we can heal from that space, I think it then shifts and changes everything else in our reality.
100%.
Right?
And that's why go there and tell them that. It's not your fault. Right. It's not your fault your mom and dad were mean. They were barely making their bills. They were stressed. They didn't mean to do that to you. You're perfect the way you are. I mean, it's just the idea of thinking about it different, right?
It's the empowerment.
Yeah.
It's really the empowerment is what you're saying, is choosing not to be a victim, but to look at things, learn the lessons, move forward, and, move and create the life you want to create.
But it starts with an idea, right? Because the idea that they didn't even think of that, right? It's like your dad was spanked by his dad and his mom. He didn't know how to come and be loving to you. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that you have to hold on to that till you're 50, 60, 70 and keep doing it. You let it go. That's just a human that's broken. We're all broken. We're all just evolving constantly. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners and viewers before we kind of close this off?
I just want to share, just take a chance on who you really are, and you can create a business out of all your skill sets. That's why it's 7 dreams, 7 streams, 7 dreams. I just say that a lot because it's everything that you love to do. I love to garden. Well, you could go and teach women in a big community how to garden and be on a monthly $10 a month program where you just knock on the door and see how they're doing. There's so many ways to create businesses, and your passions matter. And so if you're at a dead-end job and you're not being acknowledged for your skills and your skills are laying dormant, there's so many dead, beautiful skill sets in the graveyard because nobody really brought them to fruition. They didn't have that person to help them create that into a business. So go after, be very diligent, go to a lot of events, say yes to everything that you can, get 3 nuggets, write them down, doesn't matter who you're around, and then find out a way to get deeper on that nugget until you learn something new. And I promise you, if you're around the people that you admire the most and the circles they go in, you can also create something amazing for yourself that will pay you exponentially because you'll be doing exactly what you're put on this earth to do.
What a great, simple insight that can change people's financial future if they just apply it. Apply it. So I appreciate you bringing your energy, you're bringing your heart, you're bringing your love. And thank you for also teaching me some things that I wasn't even thinking about, like how I can meet other people and then also add more diversity into our environment that's going to help, our company grow. So
thank you so much for having me. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.